Hey guys, welcome to the USL show. It's called the short show, but today I think it'll be anything but that. Uh, Bear with me, everybody. I've been running 103 fever all day today, but I'm dedicated to our league and to bring all the the news for week one that's coming up. I'm super excited. I just want to introduce some friends that are here. I'll start with my friend Chip here. We're enemies as far as teams that we support, but I love this man no matter what I say online. Chip, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Just getting ready for League One. Luckily, the league gave me a bye week the first week, so I don't have to sweat it out with the rest of you guys.
Yeah, well, my team would never do that to me because I could not wait just for the U.S. Open Cup game for that to be our first game. I think I would be sweating way too much, more than I am right now with this fever. So I also have my friend Brandon here, USL League One review. I know I was gonna tweet earlier how Kayla's over here just identifying Superman here, just giving out your real name when
I know, right?
when he
Like,
says
what in the
Brandon,
world?
he just can't keep it a secret. But
I'm not
my
very
good
good at
friend,
it anyways. I end up
yeah,
like retweeting stuff on the wrong account. So
it's hard having two accounts. I can't imagine. But how you doing today, man?
I'm pretty good. I don't have a fever, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
not been in bed all day. Is that
yeah.
it?
Well, I'm glad I'm getting it
Yeah,
over with
you're
now because we have a game this weekend. So
it's true.
It's gonna be a bad day to be a Diet Pepsi in Greenville. That's for sure.
it is a bad day. But so let's get the show going. Um, I'm excited to be here with you guys. I've loved doing the show with Kayla and all the guys. But I'm excited to do a show with you two here and just talk about the season coming up. So I guess we can start with how the last season ended. As much as I don't really want to talk about it, so I'll just give it to you, Chip, and your thoughts on last season. Uh,
Yeah, for sure. So last year ended with a Union Omaha 3-0 win in the championship game. It was beautiful. There was champagne, there was beers everywhere. It was quite wonderful. Other people did not have such a great time, mainly the 12 or so Greenville fans that drove out in a 15-passenger bus. I think that was a long, quiet ride home, full of contemplation. But yeah, besides that, the season shook up with Omaha and Greenville getting the number one and number two seeds. And then overall in the playoffs, it was pretty chalky. FC Tucson hosted Richmond as the 4-5 matchup. FC Tucson won before losing to Union Omaha 6-1. And then the Chattanooga Red Wolves faced North Texas as the 3-6 matchup, with which Chattanooga won. I think it was 2-1. I can't remember. My team
it
won,
was
so I
an
don't care.
overtime.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because you were watching it in the bar hoping that they went as long as possible.
Yep.
How the rest of the table kind of shook up. Ford Madison finished in ninth place. Tormenta finished in 11th, and North Carolina FC, they showed up. They
They they sure did.
Sure did.
They were there.
They played games.
Hmm. They
Quality.
got national team call ups. They did that.
They did. That is true. They had a lot of guys that were 15 over in Europe training.
Yes. No,
They're definitely the moral victory type of season. But I know Brandon wrote an article over on USL One Review about how he's hoping that they have a bit of a resurgent season, which I'm sure we will talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, that's how the roster shook up. Then kind of there's some arrivals and departures in the league. So the departures were all the two teams. Unlike USL Championship, we didn't keep any. So North Texas FC, Toronto FC 2, New England Revolution 2, and Fort Lauderdale Club de Football all are no longer in the league and playing in MLS 2, some under different branding. And then we had three new arrivals. We had the Central Valley Fuego FC, who are, I guess you could call them a Phoenix club, because they were a USL2 team. Then they folded so that the Fresno Foxes could play. And then when they folded and moved to Monterey, this is the team that kind of rose from the ashes. So football's coming back to the Central Valley. super fun time. And then we also have, as Caleb alluded to, the Northern Colorado Hailstorm, #HailYeah. And then those are new. And then Charlotte Independence, despite finishing second in the Atlantic Division, moved down to USL 1. And, I think they have like 4 guys signed that are of legal drinking age. So should be a fun season for them.
No, it will be a very fun season. Last season definitely didn't end like I wanted it to, but it was definitely an exciting season. It was really memorable going to that Omaha game. That was on ESPN. That was fun. The playoff game against Chattanooga was right before my son was born. That was an exciting game. And I wish I could have made it to the final. But that was a long trip to go with a newborn at home. Yeah. But hopefully I can make that trip this season, so I can meet you and some of the other guys. 'Cause as much as we all talk junk to each other every single day, sometimes I enjoy it, and I love all of you guys. And this, I think, meeting so many people in the league has been really exciting, especially with these 2 new teams coming in and a lot more competition. I think this will be. I'm thinking this will be the best season yet. And last season it was really close, except for North Carolina. This year I think it'll be very close, except for Charlotte. So there's just something in the water in North Carolina that's not working, I guess. But
for sure. For those of you that don't know, Union Omaha and Greenville, which is Brandon and Gio's team, we have a rivalry trophy called the Big Green Belt, which is a wrestling belt. And the rivalry, besides a great belt and featuring the top 2 teams in the league, is also known for a lot of really, really shitty meme making across the board. So like the week we play each other, if you follow any Greenville or Omaha fans, it's just a bunch of very, very, very bad memes. It's quite fun, especially as a neutral. And the games tend to be competitive and the banter tends to be mediocre but fun.
Mediocre.
No one's getting called up to SNL to write for them with the jokes that are being made, but it's enjoyable for everyone.
Yeah, I don't think that's during that week. I think we all realize we keep our day jobs because it's just Chris Rock level jokes at some point. So
okay, good joke.
Yeah, what's just a joke? Yeah, there it is. I had to say it. I've been waiting for that one for a while. But do you guys want to talk about the some of the off seasons storylines?
Sure. Yeah. So we kind of just for everyone in the audience, we kind of made some, real quick for every single team in the league, what is kind of like the big off season storyline for that team, and what it kind of looks like going into the season. So I'll go first. We did this in more or less the order of how they finished last year. And then the new teams are just kind of tacked on the bottom. So for Omaha, I said the great storyline was the great migration. Omaha lost 8 guys to the USL Championship and 4 players to other USL 1 teams. So a lot of talent exited Omaha. That alone is a whole starting lineup and another guy. And that's a lot of people to replace, and it's a big order for Jay Mims, the Omaha coach, to kind of come back in and reload. I don't think anybody in Omaha wants to rebuild for a year, and I know Jay has said that, playoffs and championships, that's always the goal, and he's brought in a bunch of young talent and some talent that he's kind of found from around the world to kind of fill some of those gaps in, and we'll see how it pans out for them. But a lot of fun players on championship teams all over the league. One guy who hasn't made an appearance yet that you should circle in your little Rolodexes is Dami Viader. He plays for Sacramento Republic. He hasn't made an appearance yet. I'm assuming due to probably some visa issues or some paperwork clearance. But when he does make an appearance, if you're a Sacramento fan, you're going to love him. If you're not a Sacramento fan and you're in the West, you are probably not going to be very fond of him.
Not at all. Yeah. So next up, we've got Greenville, and I'll take that, Gio. Don't worry. You rest your eyes for a second. No, I mean obviously we had a less than, we'll call it, perfect end of the season. We still made it to the third final in a row, which is awesome, a huge accomplishment. And I'm really proud of our team. So even if we didn't win the final, I'm super proud of our team, what they accomplished last year, and I'm really excited to see them work hard and maybe even do it again. Obviously, we lost a good number of players. We lost some players, to Europe, and we lost Carlos Gomez to Europe as well, and as well as to Columbus Crew 2 and a lot of other places. And so, we have a bit of a, while we do have a lot of players coming back, I think we're in second place for returning minutes. There still were a number of players who moved on: Marios Lomas, Abdi Mohammed, and Alex Morel being another big name that moved on, and Andrew Booth and a couple others that have left, and we had to fill those spots. And I think we've done a really good job of that. Jacob Labovitz is a big name. Jake Keegan, obviously, coming back. I made a joke the other day on the Walk in 90 pod about him scoring a hat trick in Madison. That's a big name back. I'm a big fan of Vinton Evans, and I think he's going to be great. Obviously, bringing back Alan Gavilanes and Jesus Zavara on the wings is going to be big as well. So despite the fact that we've had a lot of turnover, I mean, towards the end of the season, a lot of the players that we lost, like Dallas J and Morel and people like that, I really feel like coming into this season, it doesn't feel like as big of a loss as it would have the beginning of last year. I mean, I think these players that are sticking around have really stepped up big time, and we brought in a lot of fantastic talent. And so I'm really excited for this season. Obviously, we had a stadium bid that didn't go very well, and we only have is it a year left, Gio?
I believe it is a year.
So we've got to figure that out. So that's something to keep an eye on in Greenville, where we're going to be playing and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a big year for Greenville in a lot of ways, and I'm really, really excited to see kind of how it shakes out.
I'm excited also. I feel like it's gonna be a big season, a lot of new players, but I feel like we're gonna have a new playing style this season also with a lot of the additions that we have. Be rock solid defensively with all our defense other than Abdi coming back. But with Noah Frankie coming, I mean, it could look a little bit different. And with the midfielders, and we have a real Cam now and Coutinho, we might look very different this season. So it's exciting. So we'll see what happens. Another team I want to talk about is Chattanooga. They've been a rock solid team. They love to keep it late sometimes, but it makes their games fun to watch, especially turning it on in the 75th minute and above after Greenville plays. They're a fun team to watch. I watched the interview on Walk in 90 with Obleda, and it was a great interview. And he seems like a great dude, great coach, and these guys really like playing for him. The semifinal game against them was amazing. They worked hard. I enjoyed chanting Dos a 0 to their team at the end of the game, and they didn't like it very much. But I respect them. They now they have lights in their stadiums and hopefully bathrooms. So I'd love to visit that stadium one day. Hopefully this season when Greenville plays. But they did lose some starters, and I'm really curious of what they're going to do to replace Ruiz, because he was a big player for them. And where did he go? Rio Grande?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, him and Ricketts both went.
Yeah,
and then Ramos went to Minnesota too.
Yes, so they lost some big players, and they got some big shoes to fill. Losing the assist leader is not an easy task. So they got to find where to. And I think Markey left to Hailstorm also, and he was like one of the best super subs in my opinion. Every time I've seen him, he comes on like he's good. He's electric. So they have some big shoes to fill this season. So we'll see if they can come back as strong as they did. I think last year might have been their best shot of making it to a final. Because this season it might, with every other team being as competitive as they are, they're gonna have to fight for that spot again.
Yeah, so they're gonna have to have more goals come from that forward line.
Yeah,
I mean, most of them came from Glendrez. From the forward line, that was pretty much it. I think Frischnick scored 1, and then obviously Teixeira played 3 games total. I think played in 3 games, And so they had a lot of rotation there. So I think getting more goals in that forward spot is going to be essential.
Yeah, and they're going to have a rough start too. It sounds like they've got 5 guys still who don't have their papers cleared or are injured for the first couple of games. So, it might be in a season that's as close as this one is going to be, I think. It might really set the tone of their season if they can go and get some gritty wins early, or at least get some gritty results, because they might need those points later on in the season. So, Chattanooga may not be in their normal spot in the table to start. They're going to have to claw back up. But talking to Ableda, it sounds like he's definitely got that underdog mentality. Maybe that works better for them. They really kind of faded a bit once they went to the top of the league and were in the top spot. I think maybe they're one of those teams that likes to be chased, and instead of being the team that's chasing, or they like chasing more than they like being chased.
Yeah, I really liked his interview. I mean, like the commitment he asks of his players, but also I think he's growing into a commitment he's offering back as well. Really cool. I think there's a team dynamic growing in Chattanooga that is beginning to look really cool.
Yeah, I know we received some players from Chattanooga, and because of that, and some of the comments, I didn't think too much of him, but it sounds like he really learned from his first season coaching in the pros and what he did right and what he did wrong, and has kind of adjusted his play style a lot and his coaching style a lot. And it seems like the guys really, really like him. And he's building something cool down there, which is, fun to see that kind of character arc. Honestly, the only reason I'm worried about Ableda is because he needs to be on a list somewhere. So his lucky meal before games is peanut butter and tuna, and not like an ahi-ahi tuna, kind of a little bit of an ahi-ahi tuna, but he's like, any type of tuna will do that, and some peanut butter, and it's like,
you're never gonna forget that. You're gonna let him.
No, that's gross. That's like repulsive. That's like people who put ketchup on bratwurst.
That's disgusting.
Ooh.
I just can't imagine how that smells. But I don't want to think about it. I can't.
Don't think about it. Yeah, that's not.
No, yeah. Not today's not the day. So another team here, we have FC Tucson. Next, they got obliterated in the semifinal to Union Omaha. I was in complete shock because I really thought that was going to be a tough game or a closer game. But that red card didn't help them. And they lost Charlie Dennis, which was probably their biggest loss, and Shaq Adams to Charleston, and Charlie Dennis to Oakland, who I hope we can beat next week. But those are some big losses for them. Those are 2 of their biggest players, and I don't want to give away a prediction too early, but I don't think they're gonna be as good as they were last season. I feel like that just those 2 players alone is just gonna hinder their attack. Losing those players just hinder their attack, and I don't know where it's gonna come from at the moment. They have fight in them, and they were always fun to watch, but I don't see them having as good of a season as last year.
Mm-hmm. I do think oh, go ahead.
I think we're probably saying the same thing, so you could probably say it better than I can. So
I do think that they are going to be a little more stable this year. Like, coming into the beginning of the season was horrible. I mean, they had, I think it was seven of their red cards were before the end of June. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They were desperate to get restarted. And so I think coming into this year with Perlman at the helm at the beginning, I do think there's going to be a lot more stability, a lot less goals leaked. I wrote something about them a while ago. I don't remember the numbers. I think it was like the difference of goals per game across from the beginning of the season to the end of June, and then from the beginning of July to the end of the season was massive. And so I do think that's going to be big for them. In the meantime, being able to grind out some more results instead of having to constantly play, 4-3 soccer. But that you're right. That is a huge question mark coming out of that attack. I do like Tyler Allen coming in from Madison. I think that's going to be I think he's going to be important for them. And of course, I think Gio Calixto is going to be huge for them. I think he's going to have a big season, or he needs to have a big season if they're going to do well.
Mm-hmm. And for the USL Championship people, the big storyline there was FC Tucson was all the way down at 11th, which with North Carolina playing the way they did last year was essentially last place. And they made a change at the top, and Perlman came in and he took a group all the way to the 4th seed. And, I think I, for one, thought that it was a real shame at the beginning of the season that they were doing so badly. They had a lot of talent. I know I had them as a playoff championship game dark horse, and so I was really trying to go back and delete those tweets so no one could find them. But he really came through with that group of talent, and I think it's going to be interesting what he does when he kind of gets to be the guy who builds a team up. And I think that's really going to be the big determining factor because they had a Ferrari last year, but they were jumping the clutch and everything else, and he came in and made it hum. But let's see what he can do with his own guys, and it should be fun all around because that's really a huge storyline. I think there's 37 guys that left for championship across the league. So there's a big talent vacuum, and it's going to be interesting to see who fills it. And it might just come down to coaching. And I think Perlman's a pretty good coach. Should have won Coach of the Year last year. Mims won, so I can't complain, but, we'll see what they can do.
Well, it says a lot. He's been there for, how many years now? Since 2011, right? At least.
Mm-hmm.
So
all the way since they were like an amateur club.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long time. But we'll see what happens. If their players play for him, they could have a good team. But I don't know. Some of their losses were hard, but we'll see. And that big loss in the playoffs was hard. So Chip, here I'm looking at the storylines, and for Richmond kickers, just disrespect to Emilio.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So I sometimes fall guilty to the cardinal sin of trying to be clever when I shouldn't be. And so with some of these notes, I got a little bit too clever, this one's probably one of them.
And I like
it. So Emilio Terzaghi, he is the Argentinian. I guess you can't call him a wonder kid anymore. He's a little bit old. I think he's 32, 33. But
yeah, his hairline definitely isn't doing him any favors. But
yeah, but Richmond, the year before he came in 2019, was one of the worst teams in the league. Not a lot to talk about, not a lot of good storylines. He came in with a talented group of people, and he won the MVP and he won the Golden Boot in 2020. And then he came back in 2021. He won the Golden Boot. He won the MVP award, which, we can debate all day long if Dami Villader should have won it instead of Emilio, but that's, it happened. He won. So he's won twice in a row. He's won 2 Golden Boots. And the media, which I guess technically includes us now, they're pretty quiet on it. And, even the Richmond fans that I've talked to are like, oh, well, let's look at Irvin Parra at Noco, or let's look at William down at Fuego, or, some guy from Omaha. And like, no one's talking about, it's like we don't talk about Bruno's song, right? We don't talk about Emilio. And it's like, we should be talking about Emilio. It's a great story. He's came and he almost single-handedly turned around that team into like a perennial playoff team. And I kind of think Richmond's going to be kind of the bellwether team for how the league did this year versus last year. They brought back pretty much everybody. They had Olex Anderson leave. They had 2 big retirements, and Ivan Magales, and one more I can't remember off the top of my head. But for the most part, everyone's back, and they finished 5th in a very tight race last year on the very last day of the season. I think if they kind of cross that 3-2 line, maybe the league's kind of decreased with all the talent leaving. But if they're down below, it probably shows that the league, while losing a lot of talent, brought more in and is continuing to develop and build talent, which I think is ultimately for League One, what's going to make the league sustainable in the long term is finding, identifying, and developing talent and selling it on to championship and other leagues.
Yeah. And I think going along with that, they lost Calvo out of nowhere. I'm not sure what the story was on that. But Kaylor mentioned it. I think Stephen Payne's a right back. I'm not sure. I may be completely ignorant on that one. And then, Stuart Ritchie and a couple other players who are coming in and going to fight for that spot. And I think that's going to be big for them as well because he was really important for their team. Obviously Terzaghi carried pretty much carried it. But if you look at I think one player who I think is going to have a fantastic year with Richmond is Bolaños. If you look at where their threat came from. Obviously, you had Vigneault on that right side as well, or the left side as well. But most of their threat for the season, I mean, they were like the leaders in threat down the left side of the field. And obviously, he doesn't have a ton to show for it, like base statistically wise, like goals and assists. But I really think that he's going to be big, just because, I mean, literally out of every team in the league, Richmond was the most threatening down that left side in the attacking half of the field. They pretty much owned that left side. And so those two players, Vigneault and Bolaños, will be really important, but especially Bolaños.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Kayla, could you put up the NCFC keeper comment real quick? So, one, Gio was at this game and sent me a great video. But two, that keeper's name is Jake McGuire. He now plays for the Miami FC. So all you Eastern Conference fans can go watch him play and have a good heckle. That's our gift for you tonight.
He might do it again, though. Watch out. Just a little segue here, but I'd like to know what you guys think about those Richmond Kickers kits that they came out with, those classic kits. How do you guys feel about them?
If I had the cash, like, I'd buy all of them. Without hesitation.
Yeah, I thought they were nice. I like the logo. Just I'm not a fan of we did the crest thing, and I'm not very smart when it comes to national monuments in crest, but and also with random comets like the hailstorm and Richmond Kickers. But I do love these kits that they have, and we have a kid season show, and we're going to be reviewing those this week, I believe, or next week for everybody to see. We're going to do all League One kits because I know Thursday we're going to have the bulk kit from Tormenta. We should have Greenville's kit this week also at some point, hopefully, so I can go to we have to. We're going to see it on Saturday, so we have a lot of kits coming. So we'll have a kit season episode of all League One teams coming next week. And speaking of kits, Forward Madison is the next team that we want to talk about.
I'll take this one.
I will give it to you as you can have it.
So I was gonna plug the kit season episode more. I am a known hater of the Madison kit design thing. I personally don't like looking like an energy drink can when I wear a jersey. That's not something I really like, which is why I think like Richmond kind of getting all the love for their kits is so great, because I think they're very classic. They're very clean designs that aren't boring, and they resonate with the fan base, especially with the long history that Richmond has a club. I believe they're the oldest continually running professional club in the United States, which is super cool.
Is tied with them, but yeah.
So it's cool that they can harken back to that with the green. I believe Elliot, who hosts River City 93, and is also on Walkin' 90 with me and Brandon and some other wonderful folks. You can catch our show on Thursday as we break down League One if you want even more League One action. Said that their original colors were green and navy blue, but then they switched to Manchester United colors when a former Manchester United player came in. So fun fact, the green is not a random selection. But so Madison, if you've been around the internet, you've probably heard the very tired joke that I'm going to say it, and every Madison fan's going to groan, and every non-Madison fan in the league's going to laugh, even though they've heard it 100 times.
I hope Kyle's watching.
I hope so too. He already knows what I'm going to say, so I don't really care. More kits than wins. That was the battle cry for every single team that faced Madison last year. I think they had 8 kits, not including goalkeeper kits. And that's not counting their reversible kit as 2 different kits. That's counting it as 1 kit. So if you count it as 2, it's 9. But
Benny did say they wore them differently.
Yeah, so I think if you listen to our interview on Walkin' 90 with Benny Delgado, the player liaison of Forward Madison, he'll tell you that the kits that the players wore actually weren't reversible. They were 2 separate kits. So we'll tell the story. Yeah, so we'll tell the story because it's pretty funny. When they came out with the kit, they were playing at Greenville, and they were up like 2-0 at halftime. And someone got the great idea of, hey, like we're in the reversible kit, let's reverse it and go out there and play the second half. So I think all the Greenville fans were just very confused what was going on. I know they made the goalie change because all of a sudden it was too close in color. And then they blew the lead, and I believe they ended up losing 3-2. So
I think it was a draw. I think it was a draw. I was there too, and I heard about the kit change too before the game, that it was going to happen, and that I was just, are you seriously doing this in a real game today? And
it's on the road.
Was that the one when Lomas tied with the penalty? And like he tied it, it was towards the penalty.
I think yeah.
But anyways, the joke about Forward Madison having more kits than wins is tired, even though it's funny. So we have a new one: more managers than playoff appearances.
Ooh.
So Madison's been around for 4 years. They had Daryl Shore the first 2 years. The first year they finished in 4th place on the last day before losing to North Texas in the playoffs. In 2020, they finished 7th place and decided to part ways with Daryl Shore and brought on a new coach, Carl Craig, formerly of the Minnesota Thunder, who became the Minnesota United MLS team, along with a couple other stops. He was there for a year. After their 9th place finish this year, Madison parted ways with him again. There's a really wonderful article on Madison 365 about kind of his departure and kind of the scuttlebutt around it. Great read. They did great work over there. And they brought in a new coach this year who is the goalkeeper coach from Sacramento. And so now he is the 3rd coach in 4 years. And yes, so that's kind of the big joke about Madison that the rest of the USL League One fans say. And now that we've had some fun at their expense, let's kind of talk about Madison last year. So Madison had a lot of problems scoring goals, and then they had a lot of problems conceding late goals. And so in the offseason, it seems like the biggest retooling they've done is around their defense. Brought in a couple guys on offense that are probably going to be pretty good. Cassini is the big one. He spent some time at some top European clubs before appearing in the Bulgarian 1st or 2nd league, and now he's in Madison 1st league. And then, but the big story is they just are like addicted to center backs. They've signed like 6 awesome center backs. So they've signed Mitchell Osmond, who came from Oklahoma City. If you go by John from USL Tactics, goals above replacement models, he's at a 93% in GAR, which means he was like an all-league caliber type of guy. And he went from playing, and now he's in Madison. And they have some international players there. The one they just signed to add to their embarrassment of Richmond's in the center back was actually the guy who scored the heartbreaking goal against the United States men's national team in 2018 to deny us 2017. I don't follow the U.S. men's team that much.
It was on my birthday.
On Gio's birthday.
I have a funny story. I had so many people. The way I worded the tweet, I guess, was my fault. But I had so many people tell me happy birthday because I was saying that what he did was on my birthday, in October 10th, 2017. Made me cry like a baby. So, I'm not gonna have a good time watching him play this season.
Yeah, and Madison definitely is embracing their like villain role in the league. If you are a non-USL 1 fan, you probably think of Madison as like the big cuddly team with cool kits, and to the rest of the League One, they're like, I don't know, they're like the scourge of the rest of the League One, and everyone's like, I'm tired of hearing about the stupid fucking drip kit. We're done. Like, they suck. Let's talk about something else. And so that really embraced that villain role, announcing that on the same day as a pivotal U.S. men's national team game versus Mexico last week. And so I think that's going to be pretty helpful for them. Traditionally, they've been pretty good at this kind of like ugly defensive soccer, and they haven't been great at scoring. I think they're going to have a really, really strong back line, and I think that's going to help them out a lot, especially in the beginning of the season as they try to figure out their offense and figure out which weapons work, which weapons don't work. They finished 9th last year. I don't want to say they're going to be a playoff team, but I think that they're going to be a much more competitive team this year. And we'll see, and we'll give our friends in Madison something to smile about for once. And we'll have to make new jokes about them, which is fine.
We'll always find jokes. Well,
always.
I know they came out with their kit already, and it's not as busy as their other kits. So
Yeah,
maybe that's a good thing.
I think my
Keep it simple.
only note was I wish they would like desaturate the pink a bit. It's a little bit too Pepto-Bismol pink for my taste. I think if you went with like a powder pink or something, it'd look a little bit nicer. But
when they swap kits at halftime in the Greenville game last season, the whole time in the supporter section we were just chanting Pepto Bismol. I remember that because that pink was ugly. But
I think I described their kit to my wife as the kit of another USL One team trying to make a Forward Madison fit kit, because it definitely doesn't have like their hallmark like pastels, or I'm going to use the T word, the tackiness of their normal jerseys. It's surprisingly restrained for them, which I think is better, but I don't know how they feel about it. But
I personally think they're going to be better this season. But who knows? I know Brandon is high on Drew Connor also. So I'm excited to see him play. He came from Indy, is that right? Or I can't remember.
Well, he came from Chicago House.
Yeah.
Nisa.
But
I mean,
so
he's played for Chicago Fire. He's played for
So I'm excited to see some of the
they
players
brought in
that
a
they
lot
have.
of backing up.
Oh yeah. So and one of those center backs might end up being a striker, like trimming him. Who knows by the end of the season?
Hope not. Doesn't get that.
Yeah, and hopefully we don't miss more goal calls. Ross doesn't miss any more goal calls during those games.
We'll get to you later, Ross. Don't worry.
I just had to bring that up. Anytime I think about Madison, I think about that video.
Oh, they were letting him have it that game too. He was getting a lot of hate from up north, considering they should be pretty happy about that 2-0 win. And I was like, I don't know. Ross always does a good job. I always enjoy the games he calls for us.
Yeah, I love him. I love when I can't go to a Greenville game. I love at least having to listen to his majestic voice. So the next team we have here is Tormenta. You have here the surprise hit of winter 2022 with 4 players sold on. And these people know how to do business. If any team in League One, they need to take notes on this team. They have done a good job this offseason. Although they did lose Mr. Tormenta and Megaleto, they have revamped their team this season. I'm excited to see what Sterling has to bring. I don't know much about him other than there's pictures of him with Harry Kane and out there, so it's going to be exciting. I'm a big fan of theirs. I think I love going to their away games. Bolt up. Bolt is awesome. Their front office is exceptional. All those guys up there have been so just welcoming. I've met them in FIFA tournaments and just interacting with them. Everybody in the front office is really welcoming to anything, and they've done good business this season. They have their new stadium this season. I think it's not going to be ready just yet, but we got a few months, I believe.
I think July is when it's going to be open. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, but I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to go to a game out there and them have their own stadium, and I'll be a little bit jealous. But I love those away games over there. They have great tailgate, great atmosphere. Sometimes we bring a little bit more fans there, but it makes the games really fun. I promise this time we will not set off any smoke bombs. I know I don't know who brought it in. I'm not gonna snitch, but it happened, and I'm sorry. But they had some exciting signings. So how do you guys feel about them?
Brandon's a hater. That's how Brandon feels about him.
No, I'm not a hater. I do think that
it wasn't me, Kaylor.
They had so much talent. You know what I mean? Azad Liadi is literally getting minutes for DC United. Granted, some of that's down to injury. Marco Micheletto is the captain of Columbus Crew 2. They sold off Stefan Muller. I might have botched his name. And they just sold Rodney Michael to Indy 11. I mean, an embarrassment of riches. And the thing was and then also Luka went off to Europe to play in Austria. I mean, and for them to underperform the way they did was just, it was frustrating to me. It's not a matter of, I really like their team. I think they're fantastic. I love everything about them, honestly. It was really frustrating to see that underperformance. I mean, they just didn't create a ton. And yeah, I think I'm really excited about Kingsford this year.
Yeah.
I do think they're gonna, because I mean, if I remember correctly, I mean, in one issue they had was creating a lot of chances, and Kingsford, I mean, he was top 50 in shots taken in the country at the NCAA level, and so I really think they're gonna have that's gonna be a little bit easier this year, maybe. And they've brought some good talent from inside, and I'm a big fan of that. So I don't rate them super high. And that's not because I don't think their players are good. More of that's just based off of history. And so I'm going to go off I'm going to put you in the same place till you prove me wrong kind of mentality.
Yeah. I think everyone's talking about Sterling, but they should be talking about Kingsford. I think Kingsford's going to be the guy that, there's not a lot of palpable buzz around him, but he seems to be the guy that really like jumps off the page, especially when you watch his highlight videos and you kind of hear his coaches talk about him and everything else. I think if they can figure out their midfield, they had a really hard time going from defense to attack last year. And they had a lot of turnovers in the attacking third, like criminally high amount of them. If they can kind of figure out some of that transition play, they could be really dangerous. And I think with the league as wide open as it is, you can probably make a few mistakes and make up for it later in the year, or not have it shoot you in the foot and have it cost you a playoff chance. But, if they can kind of get that figured out, they should be fun to watch. I know over on Walking 90, we always call them our vibes team. They're just a lot of fun to watch. You're probably going to see a lot of goals from both ends. You're going to see exciting games. And, I think everyone's always cheering for Tormented. They run a real tight ship down there. They do everything right. And it'd be really nice to see them have some success this year. Just hopefully not at the expense of Omaha.
For sure. Well, on the Omaha point, I mean, you think about the Otieno, him coming in, that's going to be fantastic for their midfield.
It's going to be huge.
Raw and Heckenberg as well. I mean, their midfield's kind of coming together. I do think, I say they're like one injury away from chaos, like feeling like a little chaotic, but I went and looked at the numbers on the rosters, and I think it's 5 teams have the same number of players as they do. Granted, I think they're the only team with 18 players that has 3 goalkeepers. But
they have one of the best keepers in the league already. So starting,
yeah, but I mean, yeah, so a lot of teams are where they are right now as far as signings go. They're not, other than Charlotte, they have 8 according to Transfer Market. But yeah, I really think that things are coming together there. And then they brought in the former national champion from Marshall, Jamil Roberts today. So they've got some exciting stuff going on. I'd love to see them do well, because I think I've said it over and over again. I think they'll run better than pretty much any other team in the league. So pretty cool.
We'll see what happens. I'm excited to watch them play. I'm excited to go to their games. I'm excited to see their new stadium whenever it's open. And I think they'll be a lot more competitive this season than last, even with some of the losses they've had. Big losses, but we'll see. Next is Brandon's actual favorite team.
This is Brandon's hot take team. This is the one where he says and everyone's like,
yeah, this is his real love right here. He just happens to live in Greenville and has to like them. Yeah, Dreamville.
They are Raleigh, and NC State just lost. I'm a big NC State fan. NC State just lost in double overtime to UConn, which kind of I might leave. No.
You might cry.
But yeah, so they're basically in Raleigh. So yeah, it's true. Anyways, I'm a big fan of NCFC, just in terms of like on paper. I do think there's some stuff to figure out. It seems like even with preseason, which again, preseason isn't necessarily an indicator of too much. Although I do think, again, to the point of Tormenta, after the preseason they've had, that's an indicator of good things, right? You see an undefeated preseason, especially one that includes the Tampa Bay Rowdies. I think that's a good indicator that they're improving. But on the other end, I'm not sure. NCFC might have won, maybe won one or two.
I think they won one.
And they lost.
I know they won one for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they lost to Charlotte.
I do.
Today,
so I'm a big fan of Jordan Skelton. Yeah, 2-1. And they lost to Richmond 2-1 as well. But I mean, Richmond, that's a big game. I'm a big fan of the players they've brought in, players they still have, and like as far as metrics go, they kind of got screwed over a lot, to be honest. I mean, they let in less goals than they were supposed to. Part of that is the fact that Nick Holiday, when he came in, he was absolutely lights out. In the 500 minutes he played, he was definitely by far the best goalkeeper in the league. As far as metrics go, there was no one statistically better than Nick Holiday in that amount of time. Obviously, that's a small amount of time, but still. And then bringing in Garrett McLaughlin is going to be big. I think he's a pretty solid option. I'm a big fan of Nicholas Molina as well. And then, obviously, Kaylor loves Jaden Cervania, and they brought in Shokat Tahir as well. I'm going to stop naming all their players. I really am excited for the talent they brought in. And I think that if everything clicks, it'll go really well. If it doesn't, if they struggle to score again, if they struggle to create again, then it's not. I think it could end up the exact same way. I think they're going to be more defensively solid this year. Jordan Skelton's huge. He is a very vocal character from what I hear, and led the Menace last season to a title, and I think that's going to be big for a back line that really struggled with organization last year, for a defense as a whole. The defensive structure that struggled with organization last year. Having someone like him in the back line is going to be huge, especially with all the younger players around him. And so, for me, they addressed pretty much every concern, minus maybe the midfield, which you brought in Raheem Summersall and you've got Nelson Martinez. That's not bad, and you got Pekka as well. And so, I'm really excited about the talent at their disposal. Now, how well it goes is still, that's up for debate. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think you and I talked about before that they were just really prone to mental lapses, especially in defense a lot of the time. Even games against Greenville, we would get in behind way too easily, and that's what lost the game in those key games for them. They lost a lot of points that way that they could. I mean, they had a decent team, a bunch of kids, but they were playing. And they had one of my favorite players to watch with JT, and he was. I just feel like they didn't know how to get the most out of him. Miss Cheech, I think he was a solid player too, but I think they're going to look much more organized this season with some of the players they've brought in. Now that they have season under their belt, a lot of these young guys are going to know what it's like to be a professional now and show up this season. So.
And a couple of them played on the big stage, we have 2 international appearances now under their belt at NCFC.
That's big.
Not a lot of teams can speak for.
Yeah, and I think the big number to show that they're maybe a little bit more serious this year is the fact that they had 15 academy players on the first team last year and only 7 this year. I think, going down after COVID for them was kind of a stopgap measure to make sure that the club would continue to survive. They stopped the bleeding. They're off the table. They're not out of the hospital, but they're trying to get out there. And I think it's going to be really interesting. And I think one of the interesting thing about League One is you have a lot of different philosophies on how to build a team. And I think as the league continues to grow, having a core competency like Tormentas or NCFCs of finding local talent and developing it might be the winning strategy in the end, just because you're going to know these guys a lot better and be able to do a lot with less and not have to pay money to bring in transfers or money on big scouting or big contracts for European players. And, I think it's a good long-term strategy for them, especially if, as Brandon says, it starts paying off and they start seeing some transfer fees come in and they start seeing some success on the field.
I think we're going to be blown away by that in the next couple of years. I mean, with Nick Holiday going where he's going, Britton Fisher going where he's going. I mean, he hung out in France for a couple of weeks. They both hung out in Germany this summer. They're obviously not old enough to sign professional contracts yet, so they're not going to get those offers from those big clubs, but they're being eyed by big clubs. Big clubs. And that commitment by NCFC, I think it's funny right now because, they lost bad last season, but I don't think it's going to be very funny coming very soon. I think we're going to realize how that commitment to youth development is going to pay massive dividends.
I think you're going to.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think you're going to see some teams who weren't paying attention in the offseason and some fans who are talking maybe some shit about them be real surprised when all of a sudden they're down 2-0 to NCFC in the first half. I think, I'm not as high on them as Brandon is, but I think they're definitely going to be a hard out, and it's not going to be a team that you can, look over last year like you could last year. I think they're going to make, I think they'll end up just out of the playoffs, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them slipping out of the 6th or 5th seed. I think it's going to be really, really, really tight in this league. And I just think with the youth, they're going to be just a little bit too sloppy to make it in, but they're going to be, a team that maybe you're not looking forward to playing in October this year. I
agree wholeheartedly.
I agree. And I think I respect them a lot for playing their kids. I wish, I'm fairly jealous that Greenville doesn't have that yet. We have a few academy players, but one of them I've never seen the field. Another one only played because of traveling to Toronto last season, but that's all we got. And I'd love to see more of that. I'd love to see more of that here in Greenville. I'd love to see a lot of other League One teams do that because with a mix of having academy players and a lot of the talent that we're bringing in, I think that'll take the league on another level, especially once NCFC makes those moves, because they will. The kids are going to go somewhere, playing the World Cup qualifiers for El Salvador, and that's an up and coming, they're not going to make the World Cup this year, but 4 years from now, they're going to be very competitive with, and we have I think 2 players from NCFC that have played for El Salvador. So, and Holiday, he's going to be a big player. I don't think he's going to go to MLS. I think he's going to go straight to Europe once he's able.
Yeah. So, he's probably got an offer in Germany waiting on him.
Yeah. It's going to be a big one. It won't be surprising. And we'll see. And I respect their coach very much, John Bradford, I believe. I've watched his I've listened to his interviews, and I know he reached out to a lot of fans to talk about their thoughts on the team and asked to meet with them, and I respect that a lot. Coming from a coach that obviously it wasn't good enough for them. It wasn't good enough for him either. And so they wanted to change that, and I respect that incredibly, and I really hope nothing but the best for them. And I hope to have a fun rivalry with them being so close. And I mean, their facilities are beautiful. That field they have I'm so jealous of it. And they're a Wakeman, and so I'm excited to see what they can do.
Do you guys want to hear a fun story about Bradford?
Sure.
So when Bradford was on Walkin' 90 with Ebony and Yogi after the NCFC Richmond game, and we learned a fun fact about the meal planning at NCFC. This year, for every home game, there is a team meal at 3:00 where every player has to attend. Do you know why that is, Gio?
Somebody was starving.
Like half their team didn't know to eat before games. So, one of those being JT Kamira would just roll up on an empty stomach with, a hard-boiled egg and a juice box in his stomach from lunch, just ball out.
He went to Richmond on an apple and
ate some Haribos on he's eating some Haribos on the bus ride down, and that was it.
And then drops an absolute masterclass in Richmond.
Yeah, so they're having a mandatory mealtime now before the games because their players were, as he put it, they were so green that they didn't know that you're supposed to eat before games.
It's funny. That's funny, but I mean that's what I mean. They got a year under their belt of know not to starve themselves and know how to be professional soccer players now, and regardless of their age. So now, just imagine if they eat, how good they might be. So, but I know Holiday eats. He's a big boy. He's, but they're going to be a
Drinking his
fun team to
vitamin
watch.
D milk.
Oh yeah. But if we go to the other side of North Carolina, we have another team here, Charlotte Independence, and
They won a game.
They did.
They beat NCFC. They did.
Got to get my jokes off though.
I wasn't shocked that they came in. I really wish Pitbull would have bought them. That would have been the biggest League One story this season. That Pitbull is the owner of Charlotte Independence after all the troubles they've had with their owners and whatnot. But they lost Para, which was probably their best chance at scoring some goals, in my opinion, coming in.
Andy, they lost him to a League One team.
They did.
He just said, "I've had enough of Charlotte. I'm gone. I'm going to NoCo."
Not even gonna stay. Like, I'm just gonna play for a better team. He knew it. Yeah, that's what it seems like. Or up and coming team at least. I don't rate them at all. And I know we didn't watch the game against Greenville. We put 3 up on them in the first half. And in a preseason game, and I know it's just preseason, but I don't expect anything from them. Honestly, I think they'll be. I feel like they might be worse than NCFC was last season, in my opinion. What are your thoughts on them?
I think they're in the triage unit. I mean, I think they're doing what NCFC did last year. I think with the MLS team coming into town, maybe if they weren't hurt and they kind of foresaw that continuing to compete at the championship level maybe wasn't going to be the best thing for them. I know that their attendance has been down a bit, but they moved to a new field downtown, which is probably pretty cool. They have $99 season tickets, so that's probably going to get a lot of families out there, a lot of younger folk out there to games, and I think they're kind of hoping that they can get some of that stuff to work and build up enough to the point where they can be competitive at the League One level. And I think this year they're just trying to keep the lights on and make it at every game. Hopefully we're surprised, because I don't think it's not good for the league to have a punching bag. You need every team to be there, put up some fight, have some good moments. But I think for Charlotte, it kind of seems like a do or die year when it just comes to just making it through and making it on to the next one. I think for them, that's kind of the moral victory of making it this year is if they play in 2023.
Yeah. And so far they've kept one player that has played any significant number of minutes. And he was pretty good. I mean, Clay Dimmick is their one player that played more than, I think, 3 games. They had a couple other people who they re-signed, but didn't really see time. And, of course, that's fair considering they were literally, second place in their division last year. But, yeah, I mean, it's going to be – I mean, because it wasn't – it's like NCFC, but it's not, right? Like there's so many other factors to this story that make it more complicated that, we don't need to belabor those points, but it's just going to be more complicated. And I think that's going to be the biggest issue. Isn't just dropping down, but all the other stuff they have to deal with as well. That'll just be a cloud over them until they start performing well.
And I think too, I think we all kind of have heard about Charlotte, the Charlotte FC, the MLS team, and their exorbitant seems like a fair word to call their tickets. The fact that you can buy season tickets for the Independents for less than you can buy like mid-level single game tickets for a family of 4. I mean, maybe you're going to have a lot of people that really like that value option, that family-friendly option, as opposed to kind of more of a produced, I guess we would call it, atmosphere at Charlotte FC, and maybe that'll do well for them, because I think Charlotte's a city that I think has gotten the soccer bug. They set a record of 76,000 or something for their first MLS game, and I don't know, I just don't think that their prices that are charging are affordable for most families long term, and so I think Independence, especially being downtown, might benefit with that, especially if they can put on an entertaining and fun product on the field.
Yeah, that'll be key. I mean, I think the cheapest season ticket for the MLS side is 4 times the cost of the base season ticket for the Independence. So, and 4 times plus a little more.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It'll be interesting for sure to see how they do.
Well, let's talk about the fun teams.
So we got our 2 new teams in the league, with Central Valley Fuego first. I'm super excited to see them in the league. I am kind of scared of BJ, and I know he's quality. And so I'm super excited this weekend to see them play, how they play. I know, Brandon, you believe that they're going to have the top attendance in the league, I believe.
Yeah, what was that number that they were pulling even when they were a League 2 side? What was it?
Yeah, so they're pulling over 3,000 people a game on average, League 2. I think they had some playoff appearances where they had 6,000 plus. When they were the Fresno Foxes, they were at 4,800 their first year in a baseball stadium, 4,200 after they didn't do so hot. I mean, they packed them in. It sounds like there's a lot of interest in the community, and I think, the Fuego brand kind of is more of like the brand I think that resonates with the people. I think they're just kind of happy to have pro soccer, but there seems to be a giant groundswell of support for the team in Fresno, and I think my hot take on Walk in 90 was Omaha was going to outdraw Madison for attendance this year again, but they weren't going to be the top team in the league. And then my big reveal was that I thought Fresno was going to be the top team in attendance for the league. And I think I could see him setting the league average attendance record as well, which is only 4,200, which I think is probably pretty doable for him.
Well, and I'm trying to think of more than like one player that's not from Fresno.
That's the coolest part about it is
how many players are?
I'm trying to think. I think there might only be 1 or 2 players that aren't from Fresno on the whole team, which, is even cooler. And again, like we kind of talk about developmental strategies, there's just a lot of talent there in Fresno, and they've gotten guys who could probably play elsewhere in higher leagues want to come back and, play for Fresno. So I think it's really cool if they develop those guys as kids, see them off to other franchises, and they return like wild geese back home to Fresno to play at the end of their career in Fresno. It's another like really interesting and intriguing strategy long-term for the league.
Yeah. I think they're going to be a really fun team to watch.
I rated them really lowly as an idiot like 2 months ago. And I mean, looking back now, like that was one of the dumbest things I could have done. Just looking at numbers as far as like minutes played in the championship, they have as many minutes in the championship. I think it's a lot of championship teams. BJev alone has played over 12,000 minutes in the championship,
and he scores goals.
Yes, he does, and he assists too. I mean, he is like the epitome of a dual service, like a second striker, I guess. Really good at scoring and assisting. And so I think he's got a lot in his locker. They're scary, and I don't know what to expect come Saturday, honestly. From a Greenville perspective,
I don't know either. I think it's going to be a different team than we're used to playing. I think them having so much local talent, good talent, first season, they have nothing to lose. Just come out and earn the respect of the league by, first game being away against one of the best teams in the league since the beginning, to come out and show what they got. And so I expect them to be very attacking. Just go for a win. It's hard to tell because we've never watched them play, but it's super exciting, and I think they're a great addition to the league, and I hope to see them for years to come. Especially with the attendance numbers that they have. I mean, it's only going to make the league better, and putting out a strong team year one is super exciting. It's only going to help the league grow, especially if they make a fun run and they're super competitive off the bat. Um, that's exciting. It's definitely a step up from some of the two teams that we had in the past. So that's actually the exciting part. They're replacing some of these two teams and so we'll see. I'm excited. I'm excited for Saturday.
Same here.
Do you have any other thoughts on Fuego, Chip, before we move on to the hailstorm?
Yeah, I think of the two new teams, I think they're both going to be pretty good, but I think the comment that I had was they're kind of like the DCFC of League One, if you haven't covered that already. So they have a lot of NISA guys, which, I think if you are a big follower of, hashtag Soccer Wars, for DCFC, that was a big question of, man, they brought in a lot of NISA guys. Are they going to be able to compete at the USLC level? I think the question is the jury's still kind of out. They won this weekend. Didn't look super hot in their first two games. I think you'll kind of see the same kind of conversation with Fuego. I think Fuego's really, really tough at the top 11 spots. But then after you get through those 11, they're a little bit softer with a lot of those NISA guys. And it'll be interesting to see if they compete. And if they can, I think you'll see a lot of other League One and championship teams look more to NISA than maybe they have in the past to kind of fill up their roster spots.
Yeah, I think they have a good base of a squad. We'll see how they do. As far as their depth goes, it's going to be a long season, and a lot of these guys are going to play a lot of minutes. So we'll see how they do. I'm excited to see them live this Saturday.
Yeah.
And next team, unfortunately, I believe they don't play this weekend, just like Omaha. Hailstorm. They're an exciting team too, just as exciting as Fuego. They came in with all the signings in the world, getting Para from Charlotte, and Lachlan McLean from Greenville. One of my friends from England, he's super excited for Hailstorm for getting the way he says, he calls him Naughty Naughty, because that's how they say his name. And they're making a lot of noise, and I'm excited to watch them also. What are your thoughts on the Hailstorm?
You forgot the guy who should have been League One MVP in 2020, EVD. They have an embarrassment of riches, and I think that's like the big thing is, they've kind of assembled like a League One all-star team almost. They brought in Para from Charlotte. They've brought in a pair of Irish center backs who were pretty good for the Irish League, which I think is a similar league to League One in level of like talent. So I think if you can play for the Bohemes, you can probably play for NOCO. It's going to be interesting though, with all the talent they've brought on whether or not they're going to be able to get it to gel and ultimately be successful. And I think that's going to be the big storyline, because they seem to be going for broke this first year, and they want to win a championship out the gate, and more power to them for doing it. I think it's real exciting to see teams come into this league hungry. Both them and Fuego come into the league hungry and looking to win championships their first year.
Yeah, I can definitely see them making a deep run.
I do think on the opposite end of what we're talking about with Fuego, like some of the disorganization it seems like they have at Northern Colorado could bite them in the butt early. And I think that could be defining for their season as well. I do think the fact that, Para came in, and I think pretty much just expects to be top scorer. I think he kind of said it. Like he said it. Like, that's his
literally
aim.
said it.
Yeah. So that for me, confidence. Yeah, like, hey, like I'll go ahead. Like when we did the preseason pod, like I'll put you down, man. Like whatever. You believe it. Let's get to it. But I really think that there could be like you were saying, there's got a little bit of they've got some gelling to do. I do think the one bonus is that Para, Robles, and Dinso all played together at Tacoma. So there is a little bit of a connection already, as well as Rob Cornwall played with their head coach back in 2015. Like literally, they played on the same team. So there's some connections there already that are established. So that could help a bit. And you got some really strong forwards. You bring in people like Marky Hernandez and just a bunch of really high quality players. The key will be gelling, and unlike Fuego, who are, it's pretty much like, they honestly could have played together growing up, like from the beginning. This is a hodgepodge of talent from across the globe.
They're mercenaries.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and I know Brandon kind of touched on some of the other stuff. They have some behind the scenes stuff. They had a president brought in. She flew in from South Africa. She was there for 5 weeks before being let go. And so they're currently without like a president for their joint operation. They're playing out of a mixed use facility with a baseball team called the NOCO Owls. The stadium's still being built. And it's supposed to be done in May. The construction photos make me question that, but hopefully it gets done. And then the other big thing is because of kind of the shared facilities, they have 8 Wednesday games, which I think is going to be real tough for the fan support. With a team that good, they deserve to play in front of fans, and I hope they get a lot of fans out there. They're kind of stuck in between 2 places, Fort Collins, which most people probably know, and then Greeley, which most people probably don't, but it's a 100,000 to 200,000 person town, and they're like right smack dab in the middle. And I think they're going to really have to fight for that like identity and resonance with the fans, and hopefully it works out for them, because I think they're going to be a lot of fun to watch. And like I said, if you're gunning for a championship, you deserve to play in front of a big crowd, and people up there should be really excited for this team. And if you're from up there or know some people from up there, tell them to go, buy them a ticket. Like they're going to have a blast, and it's going to be a great time up there.
And the thing is too, like it's not like Colorado is like unheard of. Like it's not like soccer's unheard of in Colorado. They've got the Rapids up there, not too far away, a couple hours.
And the Colorado Springs.
Yeah. And so the Switchbacks as well. Yeah. So there is already an established like desire for soccer out there, and so I don't think necessarily pulling people into the enjoyment of soccer will be the issue. It's more just marketing their specifically, that I think will be big. And especially with the fact that, this, as far as I know, I'm sure they're selling tickets at this point, but no season tickets. No, they're not even selling tickets.
I don't think you can buy a single game. You can buy season tickets, but I do not believe you can buy a single game yet.
You can buy season tickets from them.
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
Okay, cool. So, that'll be the big thing, is marketing it. And there's already a desire out there in Colorado. I don't think that's a worry at all. There's a lot of teams out there, and they have a big following. So, but I do think that marketing their team specifically and staying organized will be really important for them this year.
There's a lot of
on the field.
Yeah, they moved the baseball team from northern Utah there too. So you're talking about a pretty big undertaking with a new soccer team, a new baseball team. The ownership's the same group, so I don't know how familiar they are with Northern Colorado. So I think it's going to be a big learning experience, and hopefully they come out successful, because I think that could be a really fun club to have in the league. And I don't only say that because it's a quick drive for me, about 10 hours, which is close in the Midwest. The other thing they have going for them is that their fans online were told that they needed to wait to kick a ball before they could start talking shit online, which, if you follow League One at all, that was the curse placed on Omaha which resulted in us making the finals 2 years in a row and winning a championship ultimately last year. So they've got that going for them as well. So, they're cursed, but in the good way.
Right. Blessed.
Blessed. Yeah.
Blessed, cursed.
In a weird way.
I think they meant the person who gave it probably meant it as a curse, but it was a blessing. So it's like a inverse curse, which I don't know. I'm not a priest. I have no idea how that works.
It's like when Harry Potter wasn't very good at his stuff yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mess up the spell.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the teams right there. Just the storylines addition. It took us an hour 15 minutes. We thought it was gonna, but man, I think it's gonna be an exciting season. Every team has some fun stories. Every team has some fun players to watch. So that's gonna be awesome. But we did get some questions online. The short show. It's no longer. This is the USL League One show today.
I mean, compared to some podcasts, preseason wise, this is short.
This is It's not as long as
podcast.
It's not like Who Gives a Hoot, Batman.
Batman. Yeah, the Riddler would be proud of that. I mean, I think that calling it a manifesto is probably like underselling what that podcast was.
Yeah. I haven't even had a chance to finish it yet. I haven't had a chance to finish it
either. It's like Infinite Jest. No one's actually read it. Everyone owns it, and they might have leafed through it. But at page like 450, you're just like, I don't know anymore. And you just put it on your coffee tables. Like, it's a great book, and you both know you're lying to each other about reading it, and you just move on with your life.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I started it, and then I was like, I don't have time. I was like, man, I still got 3 hours.
I'm only 2 hours and 45 minutes in.
Yeah, I got it.
Yes.
It's fantastic so far.
It's amazing.
You should listen to the Who Gives a Hoot podcast.
Maybe at 1.5 speed.
Yes.
I don't know. I might have to turn it to 2 because
great podcast though. Great group of folks down there in Omaha. We joke because we love.
Exactly. I love everybody that was on there. I love all of you guys. So we do have some mailbag questions, so we can get through those before we get to our week 1 predictions. Do you want to take the first one, Chip?
Sure. So RVA is Red, who is one of the co-hosts of River City 93. I can't remember his government name.
It's Matt.
Yeah.
I thought it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So Matt, our RVA is Red on Twitter, asked, which team is the most fun to watch for neutrals? Tormenta. Yeah.
I was going to say Tormenta also.
Yeah.
That's just the easy pick for me.
Do you have a different answer, Brandon?
You know I have a different answer.
I know.
It's not like I don't like Tormenta, but like when I'm thinking of like soccer that's enjoyable to watch, I'm not necessarily thinking of a lack of goals or so like really. I'm not thinking of really strong defense, even though my team does that and I really like it. But
I'm not as fun to watch.
What?
It's not as fun to watch,
We're talking. I picked Tucson, and obviously some of that is recency bias from last year with people like Charlie Dennis and Shaq Adams who are electric. Derek Korf. I mean, that team as a whole, when it came together, I mean, in the regular season, they tied Omaha for the most goals scored, and before June, they weren't looking anything like that.
They were
it was 9 goals until the end of June. And they came back and tied Omaha for the most goals scored in the regular season. So for me, they also let in a ton of goals. When I think about fun soccer, enjoyable soccer to watch, basketball style soccer, I think of Tucson. Obviously, that might change a little bit this year. And again, that's a little bit of recency bias. But I think that's, for me, like if I'm going to turn on a game and it's not for Greenville, and I'm thinking, what do I want to watch? I'm thinking of Tucson. I love Tormenta, and I've gone on record 1,000 times on my on like I think Liati was fantastic and will be fantastic. So it's not that I don't like Tormenta or think they weren't fun to watch, but when I think about like what do I want to turn on and be like, oh my gosh, like this is chaotic and amazing, it's Tucson for me.
Yeah, I kind of took it from more of the approach of like if I'm a USL championship person, and I don't know anything about League One really. Like who should I bandwagon? And I think Tormenta is a great one. One, because everyone in the league likes them. Like I don't think you would meet like a Tormenta fan out in the wild. Someone would be like, "Oh, gross!" Like they're good enough that they're probably going to do some cool stuff this year, but they're not good enough that you seem like a bandwagoner. Because if someone from like some random place, I'm an Omaha fan, so if you're an Omaha fan, welcome aboard the bandwagon. But if someone from like, I don't know, LA was like, "Oh, I'm a Greenville fan," I'd be like, "Oh, it's because they're good."
Is that right?
Yeah. Right. Cool.
Because you like great defense.
Right. Or, if they said they're a Forward Madison fan, Kaylor, feel free to share your comment because I think that's appropriate there. It's like, oh, cool. Like you like fun kits. That's awesome. But Tormenta, it's like they've kind of got all of that. They're exciting to watch. They're fun to watch. They've got a great brand online. You can get some shit talk in, and they're just a fun group of folks down there. And you can be best friends with Jackson, who's an awesome guy, except for he's big time now and he writes for Atlanta. But
whatever.
Yeah. Whatever, no big deal.
We don't need him.
Yeah. I think they're unique. I think that what they've got going on out there, as far as play style and the ability to adapt, it's fantastic. And so I do think in that sense, like you will see they're unpredictable, and that's really cool. But yeah, I stand by what I said. And again, that may change this year just because they're losing, long shot Charlie Dennis and the dribbling of Shaq Adams. But for me last year, that was it.
Those 10 o'clock games were hard for me though, like live.
Oh, for sure.
Man, when we played them, that was a hard watch. But I do agree. I go with Tormenta also. I'm a fan of theirs. But I agree with both of your teams. So next mailbag question is the Oscar awards for each team by Connor. How do you say his last name? Houston?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Connor's a big Omaha guy.
Yeah.
Great guy. He's not listening right now, so I should say something
mean
about him, but
he's
probably listening. Connor's a good guy.
He might watch it later. But it's a good question. So he asked us for our Oscar awards. So for Best Picture, the Best Crest, who would you guys pick for the Best Crest?
Not Noco.
I mean, I'm gonna say what I don't want to say. I want to get out of the way now. Just blurt it out. I'm gonna say Omaha.
Oh, okay, yeah, that works. Thought we were gonna go a different way. I can't say Omaha. I do like Omaha. I do like Omaha. I have some notes on the branding, but no one wants to hear those. But I'd say Tormenta's really cool. I like the bird. I like the magenta and the blue and the navy. They've got a cool wave pattern on the back, but it doesn't look too busy, and it looks like distinctly, South Georgia. I don't think another team could, unless you're from around the same part of the country, could pull the same thing off. But yeah, I mean, I think it's great branding. It looks pretty. It does good stuff, and yeah, Omaha's a great answer too, though.
See, we talked about this on the logo when we rated the logos, and Omaha's logo just reminds me of Spurs. It's just a cheap Spurs logo with the bird on a ball.
It's clean, though. As an Arsenal fan, maybe I'm just dissociating.
Maybe
it's cleaner. It's a lot cleaner.
And, it is clean, yeah.
Yeah, and that's my thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I like Tormenta's also. I like Greenville's. It's just simple. Just looks good. I'm not a fan of Madison's. Just too much for me. Fuego's is clip artish.
Yeah.
Mountains, yeah. Anything with mountains, I'm a big fan of. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And maybe I missed it, but Madison's logo especially is like very Art Deco-ish, which is odd because they're like Madison's like Frank Lloyd Wright's neck of the woods. So you think you'd kind of go like mid-century modern maybe to like do a little hat tip to that. So it's weird that it's Art Deco too. I love Art Deco, but I've been to Madison a couple times. I don't really remember seeing much Art Deco, and maybe I'm wrong, but it is kind of, it bugs me a little bit, probably more than it should, because it's a serviceable logo. It's fine, and yeah, but
what is your pick though?
I'll say Greenville.
Greenville.
I'll say Greenville.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm a big fan of it. Mountains and the branding. that went along with it. You know,
I like it a lot.
I'm happy with it.
On your shirt right now.
Yeah, I do too. I do. I love this alternate one.
I don't think there's a lot of stinkers. I think that's the big thing with League One.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think
there's some that are not great, but
a lot of shields.
A lot of shields. Yeah. So next one would be player in a leading role. So best player in a leading role. I have to really think about this one.
I'll go first because I kind of backed myself into a corner with this one. Emilio Terzaghi, we're not talking about him enough. Two-time MVP, two-time Gold Boot winner. Yeah, I mean, I think Terzaghi is probably like the biggest name in the league, especially like in the past 3 years. So he's still here. He's let's call him the Brad Pitt of League One. He's always. At a certain point, you have to give him like the courtesy nom for best actor just because it's, or Leonardo DiCaprio. Sorry, you just have to give him the nod just because
at some point
he's good. He's always solid. He's going to be in the conversation until he proves to us that he shouldn't be in the conversation, which I don't think is going to be anytime soon.
I like it. I think mine has to be Jake Keegan. I think my man, he was great for the start of Greenville. It was great for us. Decided he wanted to leave, and he did so. And he wasn't happy, so he came back home. Go home back to where he knows. And I think he's going to be big for us this season with the team that we have. So I would say Jake Keegan would be my best player in a leading role, especially right now.
If we go last season, it would be a tie for me between Terzaghi and Lomas. I mean, just because of how important they were to their teams. I mean, if it wasn't for Lomas, he wasn't. Obviously, you can't expect a striker to score every game, but I mean,
he almost did.
What?
He almost did.
He almost did. I mean, yeah. I mean, like you can't undervalue. I mean, he carried us for a good portion of the season to where we ended up, and so. For me, that's a big one. And obviously, Terzaghi did something similar. And so those two for me would be big. I think this year
it's tough.
It's tough. It's really tough.
It's hard.
This is definitely one of those like mid-season questions, right?
Yeah.
If we're going from just a leadership perspective, I'm going to go Jordan Skelton, just because I think he's loud. He's a good leader. He's a proven leader. And so I think that'll be big. But if we're talking like star player, important to the team, I have no idea. Like I can't even begin to think who that would be.
Yeah, I mean Terzaghi's a good shout. It's an easy one.
Yeah, that's a cop out. I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. I kind of burned the bridges on that one though when I said that people didn't give him enough love, so kind of painted myself in a corner there with that.
There you go. Yeah, you had to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So best supporting cast. I've got to be a homer and say Greenville has the best supporting cast. I feel like as a whole, especially defense, they might not get all the love. Lomas got a lot of love last season. Gavilanes had a lot of love last season. But with the changes, the injuries that we had, I think we had some great players coming off the bench. We had a great keeper come up and take over the starting role over Dallas J, who I saw comment earlier from Kaler. He still has not played for Monterey. They're still starting Diaz, I believe. But I feel like Greenville probably has the best supporting class, and that's in regards to the first few seasons, making it to the final every season in the history of the league. We haven't had one star player until last season. And even then, he fell off towards the end, and we had to find ways to win, and other players had to step up that were not names to the league yet, and they are now.
They will be.
So, yeah, they will be. In this season, we've revamped things, so I think it'll be, this season, I don't think we will have a star player. Although I mentioned Jake Keegan, I think he'll be one of many to lead this team as far as leaders go. but that's my pick for best supporting cast.
And I agree with that. And I think trying to drive that point home, you can name players in Omaha, you can name players on pretty much every team in the league. But Greenville, I think most people I've talked to kind of have Greenville penned in as the best team in the league, at least on paper right now. Like if you made people pick, I think most people are going to pick Greenville to win. And it says a lot that like who is the biggest name in Greenville right now? Like Noah Frank, maybe? I mean, I don't know. Like
not even. It might be Jake Egan.
Yeah, I mean, it's
or Coutinho. Or Coutinho.
Yeah, Coutinho.
Yeah, but it's kind of like if you ask 10 different people, you're probably gonna get 10 different answers for Greenville. While most other teams probably have that one guy or maybe the two guys that like everyone's gonna pick. Greenville, it's like, I don't know who. And I think that really goes for the best supporting casting is they're gonna have a lot of talent, even if it's not like the flashiest or there's the biggest name. Like I don't envy their marketing department because like who do you put on the billboard?
Yeah, every day I see Noah Pilato on the billboard with his finger. How many days until Saturday? Coming up. I pass by it on my way to work every day.
I will say last season, and I wholeheartedly agree. I think this year it's going to be Greenville. Easy. Last season, it was Omaha. It's not going to be that case. I don't think it's going to be the case at all this season. No offense. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, the way that the team worked together to keep from conceding goals, I mean, Nuhu's a great keeper.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have the most clean sheets because he was a good keeper, though. I mean, the defense as a whole, as a structure, was lights out. Everybody worked together. What was it? I think 10 of their 11 starting 11 had every outfield player had scored a goal, right? Had contributed at starting outfield player, like the starting 11.
I think I want to say Dalton had an assist, but not a goal. He had a goal versus Madison in the rain game, but I don't know if he scored again. But yeah, I mean, pretty much everybody that started scored at least once or assisted or, it was
contributed in some way.
Mm-hmm. And it was dangerous. I mean, especially on, everyone talks about the small field, but they did it at home. They did it away. But again, on that Omaha team, you had star power. Everyone was circling Greg Hurst's name. Everyone was circling Dami Viader's name. You had star power, but I think that's the difference. It's this Greenville team. It's a lot of really, really good players who, again, like who do you put on the billboard? I don't know, but they're all good and they're going to be dangerous.
Yeah. You know what? I think there'll be a couple of players who come out this season who I think will look fantastic coming out of it. I don't think that will be, I think inherently the group is better than the individual, but I do think there will be some individuals who really shine this season from your perspective. And I do think, again, I think Greenville is automatically the blueprint to follow. But last year's Omaha was something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree. They were a tough team. They're fun to watch. Even with the big stars, they were shining, but so were the other players too. And that's what got all those moves to championship. And but the season may be a little different. We'll see. But it'll be exciting to watch.
Never talking nice about Omaha again now. So that's done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You never know. So next award is the set design. That
was a bit of a stretch, Connor, but it's the stadium. Who has the best stadium in the league?
Who has the best stadium in the league? It's not Omaha's. I'm not even going to say it's Greenville's either. We have a fun atmosphere, but we have a fun atmosphere. But it's
I kind of want to say that way. NCFC Stadium, but it's in the middle of nowhere. Apparently,
it is in the middle. It is kind of, yeah.
But it is nice.
It's a nice field.
Yeah, Richmond was if you are looking for an away day, Richmond was a great away day. I'm really sad that I couldn't go on the podcast with Nate, who's like the PR social media guru from Richmond, because I was just going to write a love letter for my time in the city. But they have some of the best beer in America, great food, awesome time there. It's kind of it has a lot of charm, I think is the way we would put it. There's a lot of charm. If they got rid of like the big other grandstand, I think it'd be a lot cooler. It just feels kind of empty. I mean, I think that's the big thing. Like, I don't really know what the best stadium is. Like, Madison has charm, but it's old and kind of a poop hole. There's like no AC in the locker rooms. Chattanooga's is going to be nice, but right now it's an active construction zone. Yeah. So you can't really give it to them. Omaha plays baseball. NOCO plays baseball. You know, Fresno doesn't play in their own stadium. Greenville doesn't play in their own stadium. I mean, I think you almost have to go NCFC. I don't know anything about Charlotte Stadium, honestly. Tormenta Stadium's not done yet, so it's kind of hard to say on that one too. Like,
and that might be by the end of the year. It might be easy. Or
there's a 2-story Publix.
I do think once Chattanooga's is done, I think that might be one of the best away days just because of the city.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard good things about their stadium as it is. I'm jealous of their Jumbotron. NCFC has a nice Jumbotron too.
Mm-hmm. So, but I think NCFC, for me at least, wins it kind of more on default than anything. Just I think you could definitely go the Richmond route because I think Richmond's a cool old stadium. But I think NCFC, like if I had to pick a stadium from the league that I could drop anywhere in Omaha I wanted, it'd probably be NCFC's. I think it's a cool stadium, especially with that like double grandstand, good size. Probably them. It's new enough. It's probably my answer.
Yeah, I just saw Ryan's comment about Chattanooga not staring into the sun. That's a struggle we have in Greenville. Every game in the supporters section. You know, I'd like to visit Chattanooga's and definitely visit Tormenta's this season when it's done, because those, you know, and one day I'll go to Richmond also. So next and last award is for best director, so manager and front office. I'll have to think about my answer. What do you guys think?
I think Perlman for coach. I'm really excited. Not as excited as Brandon probably, but we are interviewing Amanda Powers, Perlman, and then I think 2 or 3 other people from the Tucson front office next Monday at 7 Central Time. So tune in on Walking 90. I mean, I think he did an awesome job last year. The league has a lot of coaches. Like Harks is really good. Mims is really good. I think we're going to see good things out of Amen and NOCO. But I think Perlman, you know, took a struggling team around and turned them into a great team, which the other 2 coaches can't really say they've been good since day one. Front office, I mean, there's a lot to be said about the Madison hype machine. And it pains me to say it, but I think, you know, maybe you'd say Madison for that. They've had a not great product, but they're still able to sell it. They're able to sell their vision. They have a very coherent, they have a very coherent brand message. They have a very coherent, strategy to get people to games. And it's impressive because I know that they don't have the most season tickets, but they're probably going to be one of the top selling teams in the league, even without that, just because they can, you know, make those turnstiles turn and make that merch register ring. And so I think it's kind of hard to not give them the FO award. I mean, that's not to say that the other front offices aren't great too. I think, you know, to a certain degree, working in lower league soccer front offices is definitely a love affair for people that love the game and love working in sports. And I think they all leave it out in the office every single day of the week.
Yeah. 100%. I think you're right. It's hard to pick.
It is hard.
I mean, if we're talking coaches, I'm going to go Homer every day. John Harks. You're never going to hear me say anything different. But, I mean, front offices, they're all fantastic. I think Greenville's works really hard. They do a lot of great stuff. Obviously, you know, everyone's unique. Madison, like you said, does really, really incredible work. Tormenta does some really cool work that's different, although they do sell a ton of players somehow. That's insane. I mean, just to go through the players that have come from their academy, I mean, even players like Indiana Vassilev and people like that. There's a lot of players that came from Tormenta. And so the work they do there is incredible. You know, I think all of them, that's a really tough question.
Yeah. I think we're blessed to have so many good front office in our league. I think they all do a good job, um, in some way, shape, or form. Um, I hope the admin for Forward Madison is here, but watching or he listens to this, supposedly I don't say enough nice things about Madison, but that's one thing I can say. They have a great front office, and although they have to deal with all the comments, including from me, including from others, about the more kits than wins and whatnot. I love what they do. They work really hard. You can tell they really care for their team, care for their brand, and I respect that. Same thing for Greenville. John Harkes is one of the best coaches, and it's one of the coolest things to be able to run into him, and he knows your name. Like, this man is in the Hall of Fame, played in Premier League, and he still comes up to me and asks me how my kids are doing. He knows me by my name, which is one of the coolest things in the world. Tormenta, they have a lot of younger front office staff, but they're trying really cool things. Their team on Twitter, they talk a lot, but I love how they interact with so many people. They make it fun. They make the league fun, and they do a good job with their brand and obviously selling players and buying international spots. They're doing a lot of things that other teams don't do. So we're really blessed. Even Omaha, I I love.
Omaha does a good job.
They do a good job. There's good people there. Any ones that I've interacted with in the past, I've had great conversations with them. I know the admin also. He's a good FIFA player. He's a nice guy. So it's a lot of fun front office staff, and I think we have a lot of good coaches in our league.
I will say about Tormenta, quick story. I went down to Charleston, South Carolina this winter with my wife and one of my friends from college and her husband. And we went down in their neck of the woods one day. And so I hit up my buddy Bolt online and said, hey, Bolt, love to meet up and we can wet our beaks and grab a beer together. And I just figured, it'd be, a guy from the Tormenta front office to exchange a scarf with. They brought everybody from the front office. There's like 7 people there. We sat talking about League One soccer until my wife's like elbowing me, like, we got to go, get home. And it was a great time. And Bolt even showed up, which was awesome. And,
literally the Ibis showed up.
Right. And it's like, I don't know.
Literally.
Right. And I don't think that happens in a lot of leagues, which I think is pretty sweet. And, I think it really speaks to the value of that people in this front office put on the fans of the league, even if you're from other teams, because we're all kind of in this League One situation together, and we're all gonna have a lot of fun while we're down here. I always think we're a lot more fun than Championship, just because we're all pretty close knit down here, and it's always fun.
So let's so another next question from Ross Davenport. How do we improve League One broadcasts? I saw a couple comments about cameramen. Then I know that's a technical thing, where cameras are placed and whatnot. And I know that's out of some people's control. I know the teams have a lot to do with that. As far as making that work, it's hard to watch Madison games, in my opinion, sometimes because of that camera work.
Same with Chattanooga.
Yeah, same with Chattanooga. It's really hard to tell where you're at. But I think the team in general, I think the league in general has done a good job of with the broadcasters being as knowledgeable as they are about the league, and especially doing it out of Florida, and just do it on the screen. I can't imagine how difficult that is, because you got to rely on the cameramen that aren't always doing the best work. So I think the league, even in the championship, watching some games this past few weeks, really knowledgeable. And I enjoy the broadcast. Sometimes it's, ESPN Plus is hit or miss, some of the technical issues, but having those games available to us is a blessing. Watching as many games as we can at any given time. So,
and I think the biggest thing the league can do to improve the commenting, which I know is Ross's biggest question, was kind of continue to hold teams' feet to the fire when it comes to investing in broadcasting. And I think having some of the broadcasting hires they made will be a big thing. Honestly, the easiest thing that they could do right now to make the league broadcast better would be to have the away team on the field be the home team for the broadcast. I think it's kind of silly that, when Omaha plays Greenville, all the Greenville fans are seeing, ads for Omaha places you'll never go because everyone who cares about the team's probably at the game. But I think that'd be a real easy, quick fix because most people watching are probably not the home team. I know I watch the games on replay, but I'm weird. And so I think that'd be a quick, easy fix and help some congruity and knowledge of the broadcasters because you're getting the home team, which is nice.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that's the biggest thing.
So, guys, it's getting a little bit late here. It's turning into a Batman-sized episode.
Yeah.
So there's a couple questions.
Luke Offerman, we're going on 3.5 hours.
Yeah, I got to go take my Tylenol soon. But I really want to get into the predictions for this week. We have some big games. And so let's start with FC Tucson at Richmond Kickers. I'd love to hear your predictions for the game and maybe, player that's going to show up big. I know you're going to say Terzaghi, but
Brand.
For the brand. But in my in my opinion, I think this game's going to be a draw. Mm-hmm. I can't just decide a winner out of those two because Tucson lost a lot of players. I don't think they're going to have the firepower they have. And Richmond's always solid. But I don't think either one is miles ahead of the other. Other than Terzaghi, I could feel maybe a 2-2 game or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So I'll start by saying this. When we make our picks on Thursday for Walking 90 and I pick something different than I pick right now, you didn't hear me say it now. Like, I've got this whole plan to super cut it all together. Yeah. So it makes it look like it went perfect. I probably won't anyways. But, I think Richmond's going to win that game, maybe like a 2-1. That sounds about right. I think Tucson has a lot of new pieces, and Richmond kind of has most of the same team. I think that's going to really help them at the beginning of the year. They're going to be at home. They're going to have Terzaghi. Tucson's probably still figuring some stuff out. So I think Richmond comes on top on this one.
I agree. I can't bet against Richmond at home. That's it. I mean, they were number one, and at home. And if this is an away game, Tucson all day. Mostly because they were so terrible last year. I mean, they were literally the second worst team in the league away from home, and they have the same players. Everything's pretty much the same. So, but at home, that for me, there's no question. And I think it's gonna be Bolaños. Mm-hmm. I mentioned earlier. I think it's gonna be Bolaños.
Yeah, the surefire bet is Section O is going to be just vibing that whole game. They're going to be loud. They're going to be mildly intoxicated. They're going to be banging the drum, waving those flags, and I don't know. Like I said, I think Richmond's going to win, but maybe not if they were on the road.
I think it'd be a close game. It'll be a fun game to watch for sure. So next game, me and Brandon will be at Central Valley Fuego against Greenville. This is a hard one because I have no idea what to expect from Central Valley.
This is my hot take game.
I do think we're going to pull off a win against a new team because they're a new team. And I think Greenville fans are going to show up. So it's going to be a really fun atmosphere. But I think it's going to be very close. Mm-hmm. Just similar to a lot of wins that we usually have, whether it's a 1-0 or a 2-1. I don't with our defense, maybe I don't see a shutout, with right back injured and some of the other injuries we've had, but I can see Greenville winning just out of experience, having that experience that we do have. But it's going to be a very fun, close one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm nervous for this game, especially just thinking about not knowing how we're going to line up with Noah Frankie out. And then also, at Clemson there was somebody who lined up at right back who we don't know and they haven't signed. And then also Peter Pearson was there for a little bit before we jumped to the back three. Are we going to do a back four? Are we going to do a back three? Back five? Who knows?
Back seven?
And that's the big question mark because, we don't know we have no idea to some extent. I mean, obviously, this coach has been around for a while for Fuego and other places, so you can find stuff on his style. But different players, that kind of thing. It'll be interesting to see how this goes. I think at home, I think we'll pull off the win. It's going to be super close, I think. And it's going to be funny. I mean, I saw Ryan say 3-0 Greenville, maybe. I would love that. But
that'll be a statement. That'll be a big statement
against them. Or, they could end up not doing well this season. But anyways, I don't think that's the case. But yeah, I think I'm thinking 1-0. I'm thinking 1-0 to the Triumph. That's my bet.
I've got 1-1. I think
I can see
we all know the blue.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all know the blueprint. The blueprint for beating Greenville and the blueprint for beating Omaha. Everyone in the league knows what they are. It's just a matter of can you do it. And the trick for beating Greenville is to score first. Because if Greenville scores first, they're going to turtle it up and beg you to score. That's why every single game where they go up, all of the goals against them are golazzos because you have to score them from 30 yards out. So I think Villian's going to score early, maybe the 17th minute. I'm really calling my shot. He's going to score in the 17th minute. And all of a sudden, Greenville's like, oh, crap, can't turtle. Let's go. They're going to push. Fuego's going to bend but not break until the 87th minute. And then we're going to have some crazy last minute shot by Greenville that's going to go over the goal or go over the top. Yep. That's what's going to happen. Calling it.
And I could easily see that happening, which is, as much as I want to win, I mean, it's not unlike us at times to have those types of games. So
I will say, I mean, I haven't seen Fuego's players, in any way, shape, or form. I've seen Greenville's players both on their Instagrams, in person, that kind of thing. They look hungry, really hungry. I mean, Coutinho was posting training videos on his Instagram story, and that man, he looks like he's on a mission to prove something. And so that's exciting stuff. And I do think that having someone like him in the middle this year will be huge for us, and I think could be huge to unlocking and kind of expressing our dominance over Fuego.
And just I feel like Fuego's really we don't know what to predict from them, but I don't really know what to predict from our Greenville team either, because it's just what kind of lineup are we going to have? Last year I could tell you every week who I figured would start, but this year I don't know. I know a few players here and there, but are we going to go back three, back five, back four? We don't have a right back right now that we know of. Maybe we'll sign one this week, but so anything could happen. I mean, we're going to look a little more different than we have in years past, I think. So it'll be a really different game for us.
Yeah.
So it'll be a fun one, though.
For sure.
So next game is Forward Madison at Chattanooga Red Wolves.
So this is a storyline game.
Red Wolves here?
Maybe, but this is a storyline game. So the last game of the season for both clubs was Red Wolves at Madison. And at the very, very end of the game, there was a scuffle. It was kind of confusing. We weren't really sure what happened, but the game went on. And then mysteriously, a few days later, came out a statement that there was an alleged incident where a player said something pretty naughty and racist against another player. And so when this came out, this was definitely the game that I had circled as, oh, man, League One, you are naughty for picking this one the first game of the week, because those Red Wolf players are not going to be happy after one of their own was verbally assaulted by a Madison guy. And they're going to come out and they're just going to take their lunch money and send them packing up to the Midwest crying. All all the guys are gone that are involved with it. So I could still see it being a little chippy just because the Red Wolves do have a lot of guys that were on that team last year, and maybe they're going to be fired up a little bit. But I think some of the fire from that incident might be gone. But I think the Red Wolves playing at home, I think some of those guys are probably going to use that as motivation in that game. I think Red Wolves, I think, it's going to be 1-0. I think Madison's backline's really good. I think they're probably still figuring things out offensively, and I think it's going to be 1-0 win, and there's going to be a fight. There's going to be a fight and probably a red card. Maybe
you think 1-0 Chattanooga?
1-0 Chattanooga, yeah, sorry.
I'm thinking Chattanooga is going to win also at home. I think we're going to see an improved Madison than last season.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Red Wolves at home are going to they might not keep it as late as usual. But I can see them pulling off a win at home.
I'm going to be the lone dissenter here. I'm going 2-1 Madison. I just think this one's there for the taking. I think this has to be a statement game for Glazer, and I think this is the perfect time to play Chattanooga. They're still trying to figure things out. They've got a lot of players who they don't. I mean, Galindras is still posting out of the country on Twitter, as far as I can tell. So, I mean, they're missing some key pieces. I think that Madison can take this one. As much as I wholeheartedly believe that Chattanooga is still probably. I mean, they've brought in some fantastic pieces, and long term will probably be in the top 3. But I do think that this one is for the taking, and if Madison don't win, I'd be disappointed. I don't want
to. Brandon wants that free kit.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. For Madison, you see this? Yeah. Give me my last name is Mays, Mays. You can put my name on the back of the jersey.
You'll show it off on both your Twitter accounts.
You have my address.
Mm-hmm. You post your address on Twitter. But it'll
that can only end well.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, I think this next one. I think this is the game of the week. The next one.
It's my
so we have. Of course, it's your favorite one. And this is NCFC at Tormenta. I think if this was. If you weren't at Greenville, you would be at this game to see your NCFC play. I think this is gonna be a really fun game. I really do. I'm predicting a tie in this one also, but like a really good one, like 2-2, 3-3 maybe. I think it'll be 2 teams going at it. NCFC is going to show that they're hungry to make it to show that they're not the same team as last year, and I think Tormenta will also, especially with their new signings. Maybe we'll get a Sterling appearance since he'll be here by then, I believe.
I think they're both showing up this week. Both Tobias Otieno and Sterling.
Yeah. So that I think it's going to be a big game. I think, and I agree. I think this might be the game of the week as far as entertainment factor goes. I think Greenville is the game of the week, but I think NCFC Tormenta will be probably the neutral game that if you're going to watch a game, this might be a really fun one.
The most fun game of the week.
Yes, the most fun.
Yeah. I'm kind of sad I won't be able to watch any of them. I'm going to Hadestown, which should be really good. But this game, I think there's going to be a lot of goals. I think it ends up in a draw, but I think 2-2, 3-3 draw sounds just about right. And I think again, like this is kind of an opportunity for both these teams to kind of say, hey, we're not the team we were last year. NCFC is going to say, we're not a bunch of kids. Like we're here to play professional soccer, and Tormenta's going to come out and say, that team who finished in 10th place last year, that's not us. Like we're going to contend this year. We're going to fight for a playoff spot, and we're going to make a lot of noise and really make the people of Statesboro, Georgia proud of us and show the league what we're up to. We're not just the team that does everything right everywhere else but on the field. They're going to, I think it's an opportunity for both teams. It's a winnable game, and I think they're both going to come out swinging, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, agree. I mean, there's nothing else to add to that. I think that's exactly it. 2-2, 3-3, lots of fun. Ian Cameron's a genius. John Bradford's going to go all gas, no brakes.
Mm-hmm.
All gas,
will probably like unicycle while juggling fire or something.
Yeah, during the game.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, guys. Again, if you want more of me and Brandon's takes, feel free to join us on Walk in 90. We've got an episode coming up this Thursday at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, where we're kind of doing League One picks, previewing the U.S. Open Cup games. And then we have a surprise guest who I don't think we're allowed to talk about who it is yet. But trust me, you'll want to be there, especially if you're a Ford Madison fan. And then Monday we have the FC Tucson front office roundtable with Perlman, Amanda Powers, their president, and some other folks from the front office. And I think we try to do the show every other week on Thursdays. We might be doing it more frequently this year. I'm not sure, but make sure to follow us. I'm at Chip DeRippa on Twitter if you like bad memes and bad takes. Brandon's a lot more talented. You should follow him instead.
Yeah, you can follow me on either of these.
There it is.
Yeah, just either one.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to like graphs and stuff, you can follow me at the USL League One Review, and very intelligent takes about soccer.
I'll say it. He has great takes. It's a good read. It'll make you smarter about soccer. And I just don't say that because we're buddies and we do a podcast together. But then the most talented man in the room is Gio. Gio, do you have anything else to plug besides your hair care routine?
My hair care routine. I was trying to think of something clever, like I use body wash or something, or I dry the top. I dry the top and then I leave the bottom wet so the curls. But I couldn't think of anything. It's just Head and Shoulders, just all natural Head and Shoulders, and a brush. But I do want to plug away days coming up. Kaylor has done a good job on the YouTube channel putting up some away day videos, and I will work on getting one done of the Greenville game this weekend. Also, get some content there. I take every chance I get. I share the video of our first home game ever. That's pinned on my Twitter. That was an awesome moment. So hopefully I get another one of those moments this weekend, so that we can share on the away days. Tomorrow we have the USL show, just the Tuesday show, talking all things USL. We also have kit season on Wednesday. I am not looking forward to being fired after what we said about Birmingham Legion's kits. So I feel like that's going to be coming. But that's for another day. So this is the last time I appear ever. If this is the last time I appear, I love all of you guys. And a good friend Alan will be doing the short show. It might be a little shorter than this.
Actual short show.
Thursday. Actual short show.
Today was opposite day, apparently.
It was opposite day. This is what you do when you're on. This is my fever podcast, like Michael Jordan's fever.
Yeah. Well, we don't know when they're going to let us on again to talk about League One, so we got to get everything in.
We do. We do. But no, follow these guys. These guys are good friends. I love both of you. Appreciate you guys coming. I'm probably the least talented person here, except if we're talking about FIFA. Then I could beat both of you with one hand. if you're not too scared to do it. But I love both of you, and I appreciate you guys joining me. And hopefully we do this again soon.
Sure.
Yes, for sure. See you guys later.
See you guys.
Thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show. This and every episode is brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network. Find podcasts and other written work at bgn.fm. Once again, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you guys again next week.